So basically, the world is evil. What do I mean by that? Basically, every opposition is a hemispheric opposition. So in one sense, I'm saying that everything is the relatively left hemispherically emphasized versus the right, relatively right hemispherically emphasized. And you can never get out of it. The opposition is like what we are. I'll give you some examples. Just take like the American Revolution, and you have one side that's more bureaucratic, more technical, more verbose, more highbrow, more orderly, and they march right towards their enemy in just like a display of superiority, and they pay attention to rank. And then there's another side that they see as primitive or lowbrow, and they overestimate their creativity and their battle tactics, right? And that's where you hear guerrilla tactics, or like Napoleon, he would attack from all sides. But also the American Revolution, the colonists are a little more of the right hemisphere side, and then the British are the more left hemisphere side. But then you can do another comparison between the colonists and the Indians, where now the colonists are the relatively left hemisphere emphasized side, and then the Indians are the other side, and they see them as primitive. So it's like a spectrum, and you can even apply that to social hierarchies, like administrator, teacher, and the child, the students, right? And or to cinema, you have like the administrators of the empire, you have the stormtroopers, and then you have the rebels, right? Well, those are just like the rebellious students, and the teachers are the storm teachers, and the administrators are like the general people to make all the decisions. And so the left hemisphere is like the people that are better at all the abstract stuff, like legalese and academic jargon, technical jargon. Just remember the word jargon. And this all goes down the food chain. Like there's the predators are the left hemisphere emphasized, and then the prey animals are the relatively right hemisphere emphasized. They're more specialized for peripheral vision, and which is the right hemisphere, and maneuverability, which is the right hemisphere, whereas the left hemisphere is focusing on your prey and moving right at your prey. Here's that marching right towards thing again. So all of life and human life is this opposition, and you can't get out of it. But knowing about it helps you. Well, I mean, people that tend to understand things, that's the right hemisphere side, but we don't understand things because it's like important. We are like that because we're prey animals. We're like an octopus trying to avoid a shark. And that's important to know. Like, this world is, I like to call it opposite land. Like, the left hemisphere is so bad that its only motivation is power. And it will say the opposite of what you want to hear, right? Just to gain power over you. I just think the phrase empty boxes that say food inside. Capitalism is the left hemisphere is trying to get more out of less, something out of nothing. Atheism is the same way. They're trying to get something out of nothing or more out of less. I forgot what my point was. Yeah, so the left hemisphere, they did a split brain experiment with the atheism and theism, and they asked the left hemisphere whether it believed in God, and it said no. And then they asked the right hemisphere, and it pointed to yes. So that was interesting. So there's this like perpetual struggle throughout history between these two sides. But overall, we're becoming more left hemisphere emphasized. And that's why we're getting, there's this entity that wants to control everything, put us into these 15-minute cities, restrict what we can purchase, and that's just like the ultimate form of this. They want to control every single aspect of what we do. The bureaucratic types, you see what I mean? What else? By evil, like, it's also no one understands anyone, because we're all trapped in our little left hemisphere maps. And we only care about things that we can understand, or priorities we can understand, or situations that we can understand. But our left hemisphere is crude, specialized, and it's artificial, meaning we speak in this either or kind of verb phrases and prepositions, and that's the left hemisphere's speech. So that's useful for technology and bureaucracy and academic facts, but those are all fake. All that jargon, basically saying that fake facts conceal that all facts are fake. The right hemisphere is not either or, it's both and. Like, you'll have a rule of thumb, and even if something's inconsistent with their rule of thumb, it doesn't mean that their rule of thumb is wrong. They already know that it's both true and false. Whereas for the left hemisphere, it has to be true or false. The left hemisphere also is evil. Everything that we think is evil is associated with the left hemisphere. Prejudice is going to be like a crude rule of thumb, but it's crude. So you see, that's the right hemisphere, but it's crude. The right hemisphere is crude because the left hemisphere is emphasized. So prejudiced people are relatively left hemisphere emphasized. And then even, I don't want to get into that, it's too dark. You see, what's going on in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine, and you see that's got the classic right hemisphere, left hemisphere theme to it, just like Dune and all the science fiction movies, The Matrix, Star Wars. Star Wars really just means sphere wars. You see the rebellious students, or the rebels. This theme goes all the way into like child versus adult movies, because you see the right hemisphere develops first and the left hemisphere develops second. It's like our adult mind, or robot, we become more mechanized or automated. That's what our left hemisphere basically does. Like, it's sort of like 2001: A Space Odyssey, where you have Hal as the left hemisphere, and it doesn't want to change its plan or its beliefs or anything like that. And then Dave is the right hemisphere saying, there's a problem, we got to change the plan. But the left hemisphere is going to resist anything that has to change its map. It's either or map of the world. Anything that we call like a sociopathic behavior or psychopathic behavior is just pedophiles. It's all associated with the relatively left hemisphere emphasized. And the reason why I think it's like this, first of all, I see it's not like there's any free will in any of this. It's more a simulation. And you watch a lot of near-death experiences, it seems like, well, if you don't believe in free will, then it's not a punishment, but it feels like the people that are relatively left hemisphere emphasized are being sacrificed. So, because hell has to be occupied, heaven has to be occupied for them to exist, and they both have to exist. There's something weird going on where there's a design constraint where opposites have to exist, including the left hemisphere and right hemisphere. I have a lot of ideas about that. They're very precise, but they're not on the same theme as this video. So I think there's the silver lining in the fact that the world is evil and you can't do anything about it, is that there's a consequence and a reward system, even if the consequence doesn't really fit the crime. I mean, you look at some of these near-death experiences, and there is a pattern of characteristics, and there is a logic to it. So when you say that, like, it's just a brain delusion when you're dying, and you want to see this orderliness to everything, and you want to have people coming back saying it's more real than real. They have the same stories about hell, especially. You know, you keep regenerating. You kind of get done to you what you did to others. A lot of it has to do with judgment. Did you judge others? And that's because there is no free will. It's like I'm basically saying that the designer is not judging. It's a design constraint. And you go, well, what makes you think that? Well, first of all, besides what I've already said, look at life itself. Like, we have to eat other animals in order to survive. Like, suffering can't even be escaped. And also, if we didn't have problems, we'd have nothing to do. Even standing is a problem because we're opposing gravity, right? We're trying to keep ourselves alive. We're trying to improve on our life situation, make things more, it usually means make things more convenient for ourselves. I mean, technology is a push towards increased convenience mostly, and security. That's what blockchain's all about. If you're trying to survive in a world that's evil, like right now, the only thing you can really do is like invest if you can, and know what to invest in. I'll talk about that in a later video. Let's see. I think that's all I want to say for now. I'll do like a second part about, maybe I'll just talk about it now. If, because of this Israel-Palestine thing, imagine, suppose I say if you don't care about everyone, you don't care about anyone. Now apply that to a Palestinian child. Imagine a Palestinian child and a Jewish child were switched at birth. Is it possible that you can hate your own child just because you don't know it's yours? And what does that say about caring? I mean, we only care about someone unless we care about everyone, if you take that to its logical conclusion. And that's also sort of why I think everything is evil and fake. Fake and evil kind of seem to be the same thing. Not really, but they're always associated. Our left hemisphere seems like our satanic mind, our Luciferian mind. It is the false light also. Like most of the technology that we try to advance is useful to a little bit, but then there's an overreach that happens, like with, like, say, being vegan. To be vegan, you have to kill all the wildlife that's going to eat your vegetables, right? Or plastic. They say all this advantages of plastic over glass, but like there's a cost to it. You get microplastics and everything. Electric cars, like I don't even know why they think it's better, but they think it's better. But like, people have to mine the minerals for it, and they're getting sick and die from having to mine the minerals, like little kids and stuff. And they create a lot of radiation. You don't want to be sitting in your Tesla while it's charging, just like you don't want to be holding your phone when it's charging really either. All these technologies have drawbacks, like sugar substitutes are always worse. Like butter substitutes are always usually worse, right? It's like they think that they're going to do better than nature, and that's what the left hemisphere thinks it can do. It thinks it can replace nature with its map. And it extends all the way into like theoretical science. they're not really describing nature, they're creating a hypernatural, which is the natural that's already represented in our left hemisphere, usually with geometrical forms. It's like confusing the latitude and longitude lines for the world itself, for the squiggliness of the world. Well, it's semi-orderly and semi-squiggly. It like never even like settles down into any either or. That's the problem. The map's either or. Every line, like if you want to approximate squiggliness, you can make a bunch of lines and paste them together on different domains. But that's all you can do to approximate. And you can describe each little line with like an if-then statement. And that's either or. What else? Yeah, also people, the left hemisphere is really annoying. Like people, because it reacts to anything new that threatens someone's power or their worldview, they just react negatively. And if you don't understand that, you can get like yelled at a lot just for being different. And that's annoying because also you get blindsided by it because everyone's saying the opposite. That's how we kind of live in opposite land. Like everyone's telling you like, like they're saying they value open-mindedness and whatever, but like it doesn't, it's all lip service. It's all empty boxes that say food inside. And you're just prey for them. And also just movies. The right hemisphere emphasized side always wins. But in real reality, it's the left hemisphere that's dominating everything. I mean, trying to be rebellious gets you like, it doesn't work out like in the movies. So everything's designed to catch prey. We're prey. I know you don't want to think of yourself that way, but if you're more aware, if you understand anything I'm saying here, you're probably not one of the rich people, you know. You're probably struggling a little bit, and hopefully this will help.